Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, December the 12th. There's some pretty good aspects this week after some turbulent times in the recent past. Starting with Monday, the Sun in Sagittarius will be in harmony with stabilizing pragmatic Saturn. It's a good day overall for all things business, but also feeling more secure, more grounded. The moon, which sets the public tone, will be in Leo, which is in harmony with the Sun in Sag, because they're both fire signs. The Leo moon, the public tends to be more outgoing, more playful, perfect for the holiday seasons. But don't forget, assertive, ambitious Mars is still retrograde until January the 12th. That Mars in retrograde can trigger more irritability and impatientness, but also it may take more effort to get the same results, but patience and perseverance wins the race. On Tuesday, the moon goes void of course for the entire day. From 7:52 a.m. Pacific time past midnight, 12:46 a.m. into Wednesday. As I usually mention each week, the moon is void of course is when the moon is changing from one sign to the next, but it's no longer making any aspects to other planets, so there's no energy. And if you start a new project, a new job, you launch some important event with the moon void of course, the energy is flat. It's unproductive. Now, the moon will also, in the very early morning, before it goes void of course, will be in a difficult angle to Saturn. So you might be waking up feeling more worried, more concerned. But when the moon goes void of course, just don't introduce anything new. Just stay the course, stay with the routine, and you'll be fine. Wednesday, we wake up with the moon in Virgo. Virgo is very service-oriented, work-oriented. It's very sensible energies. It compels us to get our work tasks done. The moon will be in harmony with pleasurable, romantic, sociable Venus around noon, early afternoon, Pacific time. Well, depending on what time it is around the world for you, this would be a very pleasant time. If you're in the Pacific coast, you could be having a really pleasurable lunch. If you're more in Europe, it could be a pleasurable, enjoyable, romantic dinner. However, the Sun on Wednesday in Sagittarius will be in a stressful angle to Neptune. Neptune is all this nebulous, foggy energies. Now, it's really favorable for escaping reality through music, through film, through fantasy. So it could be very inspiring for the imagination, very inspiring for artists. But trying to conduct business or having some important meetings and communications, you might be prone to being out of focus, unsure. You could be in that fantasy fog bank. But that is probably the most difficult day. And still, there could be, around noon Pacific time, this more sociable, romantic energy. On Thursday, the moon continues in Virgo for the entire day, really supporting, getting our work tasks done. The moon will be in harmony with progressive, innovative Uranus in the morning from about 7 to 9 a.m. Pacific time. This is an excellent time to get out of your comfort zone, try new things, shake out all the old routines and where you're stuck. It can be emotionally more invigorating and stimulating. On Friday, the moon continues in the first part of the day in Virgo. By late morning Pacific time, the moon will be aspected by expansive Jupiter. And since it's Friday, maybe you're making travel plans, maybe you're headed towards the airport, the train station. That's all Jupiter. But it's also the end of the year, and for many students, they're taking their exams or they're getting the results of their tests. And that Jupiter can bring a lot of optimism. At 11:50 a.m. Pacific time, the moon leaves more sensible, practical Virgo and goes into fair-minded, sociable, relational Libra. And then for the rest of the day, nothing else is going on. And with moon in Libra going into a Friday evening, very nice for socializing. On Saturday, the moon continues in sociable Libra, but now discerning communication Mercury will be in harmony with innovative, eclectic Uranus. So it's a day where we're thinking out of the box. We've got original ideas. Now, this is very good for being open to new technologies. Also being more open to progressive ideas. It could be a very inventive time. This would be a really good day. It's the weekend, it's Saturday before the holidays with everybody doing shopping, that you could be purchasing a new computer, some new phone, a new device, and you could be excited. That's the Mercury Uranus, about learning all about that device has to offer. Could be where you're more interested, more stimulating, learning about new software for your laptop. On Sunday, the moon continues in sociable Libra, will be in harmony with the sun. And so that's always brings in a real comfort level in general with the public. And the moon will go void, of course, from 2:36 p.m. Pacific time until 7:31 p.m., at which point the moon goes into Scorpio. Libra for the weekend is the general public tone is more sociable, wanting to be more triggering more of a win-win situation. Let's all be in harmony. But when it comes to Scorpio, we tend to be more intense, more introspective, more private, not as sociable. But as we're starting the new work week on the 19th, that moon in Scorpio can help us become really laser focused to really accomplish our jobs. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.